Welcome, one and all, to our role play number 2. Today is Wednesday, October 7th, 2015, and this is our second monthly role play, so we really appreciate everybody showing up. I was just asking before I turned on the recording, is there anybody that has, well, let me ask you, the people on the group, have you guys started making calls yet, or are you just brand new? Have you sent out the letters? Has anybody actually started making calls and receiving calls yet?
Yes.
Who's that?
Yes, it's Bob from New Jersey.
Hey, Bob from New Jersey. And who was the other yes?
Oscar from Ventura.
All right, Oscar. So you guys get punished for volunteering. I'll pick on you initially. What kind of conversations are you getting into? Are you running into any sticking points that we can help you with?
My list is my first list is 25. I've called everybody 4 times, left them messages, and I've talked to out of the 25 on my list, I've talked to 5. 3 wanted value checks, but they just wanted it for their attorney. They didn't have any plans on selling. 2 had their own agent, and the rest of I've just every Monday I leave them a voicemail.
Okay, good. Well, first of all, congratulations on taking some action, and you're that's not typical that 3 out of 5 that you've spoken to would want to keep the property, but at least not in my experience and most agents. What was their Did they have a reason for wanting to keep the property? Were they going to keep it for a rental, or did you
well, they said that they're going to have a family. One of them, I didn't write it down. I know that one of them said that they had a family member that was moving in.
Okay.
And another one was that they weren't not going to sell. Whoa. And I don't remember what the other one was for, but I'll write them down so we know why.
Chad, you want to take that on with Oscar? Why don't you guys role play that?
Appraisal on your home.
All right, somebody's doing an appraisal on their home.
Friday.
Would you put us on?
11 work for you?
I think I knew who that is. Let me mute you out. Okay, I think I got you.
Just like old.
Just like old times.
Gotta have your mom stop calling in, Jim.
What's that?
Gotta have your mom stop calling in.
Yeah, Mom, shut up. Go back to your room. Chad, how would you handle that if you get that? If you got 3 responses like that, where would you go? You want to role play that with Oscar?
If they say they're not selling?
Yeah. Yeah.
I would just quickly get my USP out there and let them know what it is I do and why I reached out. And just like if someone doesn't own real estate, you still want to at least make sure that they understand why you contacted them and what value you provide, because one thing's guaranteed, they are going to know somebody who can use the service of a realtor who knows, to how to navigate the probate and inheritance process. So I would say, Mr. Seller, well, thanks so much for taking my call. Listen, just real quick, so you understand what we do. We actually built a team of professionals, and we specifically reach out to executors who inherit property. So it's great. You guys have plans for the property and don't need help. But if you could do me a favor, save that letter that I sent you. And if anyone else friends, family, neighbors, could use the service of really understands the process and has a team behind him, do me a favor and hand that letter to them. Fair enough. And I would at least make a branding opportunity out of it and hopefully get some referrals from those folks down the line.
Let me ask a quick question. Oscar, did you send out letters to those people, or did you start out by just calling?
We sent out letters. We sent out letters on a Monday, and then the next Monday we called everybody. And then ever since then, this is our 3rd Monday. We've left voicemails for every single one. I mean, personal voicemails.
What's your Oscar? If you don't mind sharing, what's your voicemail?
My voicemail would be hello, name. This is Oscar with the Oscar's Real Estate Team. The reason for my call today is about because our records indicate that you are a executor for a property here in Ventura County. If you are that executor, please feel free to give me a call. We have some services that can assist you. My number is 805-290-6044. Somewhere around that line. I haven't written it out, but it's something, my records indicate that you are an executor around there.
So one thing I found that helped me is with dropping voicemail was I would always reference the letter in the voicemail. So, hey name, this is Chad Corbett. I sent you a letter last week. Just wanted to follow up and make sure you got that and you understood why we sent it and some of the services we provide. Give me a call back when you have a chance, 867-5309. And I didn't really mention that I know they're an executor, or it wasn't quite as direct as that. So you might reference the letter and back off of the, saying exactly why you called. And I've found also that the shorter your voicemail, the better your callbacks. And so you might play with that message a little bit. The other thing I would recommend is go to subscriber resources on our page, and you'll see a section. There's an attachment there, a download, that's an MIT study based on 86,000 prospecting calls. And we try to only make phone calls Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we have blocks from 8 to 10 and 4 to 7. Based on the statistics, that's the best time you have at reaching those people. So you might move that Monday call block into a Tuesday or Wednesday and not have to leave as many voicemails. You might get more live contacts. And we have one of our newest subscribers. They are incredibly good at tracking everything in their business. And they followed that study, and they have a 50% live contact rate. So if they make 100 phone calls, they have 50 conversations, which is phenomenal. So you might just try moving that block to get more live conversations.
We're under the subscriber resources, you're saying?
Yeah, so if you log into alltheleads.com, go to subscriber resources. It's I forget the file name, but you'll recognize it. It's MIT study on phone prospecting.
Well, Oscar, thank you for volunteering. Bob, what's your experience been, and what kind of conversations are you getting into?
Actually, our experience has been really good. We mailed them out. 3 days later, we started to call. The responses, we actually were able to speak to about 34 people. On the list, there was probably about 5 addresses that turned out to be a veterans home because the last place is where they died. That shows their last residence.
Right.
Okay. That I didn't realize until after the second call. Then I was able to catch on. Not that I'm that bright. But what happened is we ended up booking 3 listing appointments. Ended up getting 1 listing out of it. Also, from that, we ended up getting a referral that we just listed the second property.
Beautiful.
2 of the properties, it was, the husband that passed. The wives aren't ready to do anything. They are looking to move, but it probably won't be until around December that they want to put the houses on the market. So it's still open. One of the things is, even though I wasn't on your last call, before I did anything, I kept listening to all your previous calls, that you have online.
Right.
And, of course, I came across somebody that was an old board of realtors that told me I was an ambulance chaser and everything I did. I did use the, Chad's line on the reason why I was in this business and why we're doing it. It really didn't change her opinion much, but that was okay. Just moved on to the next one. One of the things that I found is that when I did have someone that either no longer had the property or that it was passed on to another family member, is I always followed up with another question if there was any other type of real estate needs that they may have had. So I actually ended up finding somebody that's looking to become an investor. So that turned out to be a plus. Took the things a little bit further this past week, made an appointment with a probate attorney, sat down with him. We're going to try to set up a referral work together and then have him as part of our team, and actually went and visited 3 assisted livings, sat down with the marketers and the administrators. So we're putting a referral source together with them.
Brilliant, Bob.
You're the first person to take that idea and run with it, Bob. Awesome.
What's your last name, Bob?
Budzak. B-U-D-Z-A-K.
What is your last name?
Budzak.
Budzak. Okay, perfect. And you're in what market are you in?
We're down in Atlantic County in New Jersey.
Okay, excellent.
You know, we're the ones with the #1 foreclosure rate in the country.
There you go. Yeah, you're doing a lot of short sales there still. You're behind the rest of the country in that. So, Chad,
Bob, you had three listing appointments and you took one. Did you reject the other two, or did they decide not to list? What was the outcome?
No. They decided not to list at this time. They're the ones that they're looking to wait until December.
Gotcha.
Because one of them, within 2 weeks, she was taking care of both her husband and mother in the house, and both passed within a couple of weeks of each other. So she's going through the 2 estates. She does want to move out of the house that she's in. She does want to move, but at this point, she has no idea what direction she's going into.
Okay. So with what I find in Probate Mastery, we've got a whole section where we talk about the probate quicksand. A lot of, especially widows, they know what they need to do, but they're in shock, and it's like such an overwhelming experience. They just get stuck. And I've worked with folks who have they literally have not touched anything in the house for a couple of years. And by asking good questions, like, what's the plan for all this personal property? Can you use help with that? If you can answer those questions, it sometimes will jar something loose, and they'll take action. And I've used one of the way I teach the initial interview is to ask certain questions in a certain order. And one of those is, okay, so we know about the condition of the house and everything. Now let's talk about how much personal property is in the home. What's your plan for that? And what I find is 9 times out of 10, they don't have a plan, and that's the only thing keeping them there. And that's where you can layer in value using your estate sale company as kind of a safety net for them. And what happens more often than not with me, just knowing that we can backstop them and have someone come in and handle 100% of everything, spurs them into action, into yard sales, Craigslist ads, and typically those homes will be empty in a couple of weeks and we'll get on the market. When they said at first, when we discussed target date, they said, it's just going to take so long to get this thing cleaned out. So you might, when you talk to those people in those situations, just dig a little bit deeper with really soft, not pressuring them, but just with good, subtle questions of, well, tell me, what are you stuck on? What's your plan for the personal property? Is that something we could help with? Because we have one of our partners is an estate sale company, and they can deal with this from A to Z. You wouldn't have to lift a finger. Is that what you're interested in? And see if you can get them to to break through that and say, you know what? Yeah, we had help. We would get it up sooner. Sometimes they're just going to want to wait until winter because it's time. I think you'll find a lot of times it's just kind of a roadblock. It probably has to do with the personal property, the real estate.
Excellent, Bob. I want to congratulate you on doing a lot right. So you've taken, massive action, and you're getting very quick results. So that's great.
Yeah.
Do me a favor, put that in writing for us. We want to post that testimonial on our website, please.
Sure.
Yeah, just.
Bob, how many people were on your list? You said you spoke to 34.
There was actually 51 on the list.
That's incredible. Good for you.
And there was a few that all numbers didn't match up. I know at one point I did hear someone mention that with numbers that they couldn't go through, they actually went and did a door knock. In time, that will be something, because it's actually a county outside of our local county. But I have a question for you, because this seemed weird. The probate attorney I spoke to is in our county. The county that we're working is the next county over. He told me that there's absolutely no probate attorneys in that entire county. Any suggestions?
It's likely. I mean, I'm the only one that doesn't have, those of us in Virginia, because we're a Commonwealth, we don't have any probate attorneys.
Okay.
The executor works directly with the probate clerk at the county. And it could be a county that it's not common. It's most counties do use attorneys, although no one's required to. You can do it yourself, but most people just, go with the standard of using an attorney. So maybe it's one of those, kind of like Virginia, where it's not family practice.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Bob. Go ahead.
And just one other thing about that. I mean, don't take a single attorney sample. I mean, look in the yellow pages, look online, do probate Atlantic County, and do a search and all that. And I suspect you're going to find somebody who at least makes noises about doing that. And I suspect they're probably there. They're just not real obvious or focused on it. You're finding the response you're getting, it's an unserved market. Attorneys kind of tend to fill in that void.
We got a lot of background noise. I didn't want to mute everybody out, but somebody's shuffling their phone around. If you could mute yourself out, whoever that is. It sounds like somebody's moving around, doing their laundry, or they're at the gym exercising or something. Oh, went away already. Thank you. There's a good number of us. There's over 30 people on the line. Any of you folks that came on late, any specific situations where you're getting stuck? Anybody have anything that they would like to role play with us? This is an open forum. Please speak up. Anyone? We had Oscar and Bob that are actually making calls. Is there anyone else out of this group that has actually been on the phone making or receiving calls? Any volunteers?
So if you're not making the calls, why don't you, without trying to embarrass you or anything, let's talk about how come you're not. I mean, is it because you've not gotten your letters out yet, or we're trying to keep you moving forward and get you in action? What can we do to help you get moving forward faster? Just because you haven't started making them, let's talk about why and understand that a little bit and see if we can help you. Chime in and let us know. How come you haven't made the calls yet? Have you gotten your letters out? Speak up.
Hey, can you hear me? It's Phyllis.
Hey, Phyllis. Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'm just getting my letters out, and I got a group of letter or contacts about 2 weeks ago, and then I got a second group of contacts for October. So I have about 270 contacts now to make for the letters to go out and then to start calling. And I heard someone say the best way to do is get on the audio there that Chad was saying to practice the phone messaging. Is that right?
There's a sample of my voicemail, if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Phyllis, you have the recording of session 3 from the Probate Mastery.
Oh, yes.
So that's going to be the best thing. I mean, if you go back through that session 3 and listen to the common objections and the setting the appointment and all that. Something that Bob said, just to see if I can pull a role play out here. I think it was Bob. You said that some of the folks you spoke to already had agents.
Correct.
Had they already listed the home with those agents, or were they planning on listing it?
No, already listed.
Okay, that one's pretty hard to defeat. And you're coming to that. One of the common objections that we get is, we've got an agent in the family, or there's a lady we go to church with, and that's one of the things we commonly hear. So we role play that in our probate mastery course.
Why don't you go ahead and give that answer? So, Chad, we already have an agent in the family.
Well, hey, listen, Jim, I understand. Almost everybody has a real estate agent in their family, right? I mean, we're in a town of 100,000 and we've got 1,200. But have you already met with your nephew?
No, he just said, when we were ready, he'd stick it in the MLS for us.
Okay. And is he a listing agent? Is that what he what he specializes in?
He does it part time. He works at the post office, so I'm really not sure what he does in with his real estate career.
Yeah, but that's probably 90% of agents are part-time, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a way to make, create some extra income. Let me ask you this, Jim. When are you planning on meeting with them to discuss all this?
He just, he was just going to send me over the paperwork, and we were going to sign it and send it back.
Okay, so you're not going to discuss marketing or pricing or anything like that?
Wasn't planning on it, no.
Okay. Well, hey, I've got a spot on Friday at 3 o'clock. Would it be okay if I came by and just kind of sat down and showed you what specifically we do to help people in your, personal representatives and executors? Would you like to see what value we can bring to the situation and then make a decision, or are you pretty much 100% set on listing with him?
I don't really. I'm not obligated to list with him, but I don't want to hurt his feelings. But what would you do that would be any different?
Well, we spend 2 or 3 hours on research before each appointment, because price strategy is one of the biggest things for us. We want to make sure we're not leaving money on the table for the estate, because most people want to keep as much as they can. So we spend a few hours doing the research, really digging into it, and then when we sit down, we'll kind of show you what we can do to get it sold in the shortest amount of time for the most amount of money. I won't go into all of it right now, but I think it would be a disservice to yourself and the other heirs if you didn't kind of look at the options. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it wouldn't hurt anything.
Well, I've got, like I said, Friday at 3 o'clock, or we could do Monday at 2. Which one of those works best?
Monday'd be okay.
Okay. Well, I'll put you down for Monday. Hey, real quick before I let you go, on public record, I see the house is 1,500 square feet. You got 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Is there anything special that might not show up on tax records, like a detached garage or an addition, swimming pool, things like that?
Nope, not that I know of. No.
Okay, great. And what about the condition? If you were a first-time buyer, like put on your critical buyer hat, and you think, you're a newlywed walking into this house to buy it as your first home, is there anything that absolutely must be repaired?
My parents bought it in 1965, and it's pretty much didn't change anything. So yeah, it needs some work.
Okay. Is it anything that you think wouldn't pass an inspection, like electrical or mechanical?
No, my dad was pretty handy. I think it's just dated, just kind of tired. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, and I won't go through all that, guys. There's a whole list of questions that I'll ask to get the condition of the property. But what I was trying to do first is get Jim to commit to an appointment and giving me a chance. I'll usually try to, normally they will have a time set to meet with that agent, and I will always get in behind that agent. And if he says, we're going to meet with him Tuesday, okay, well, listen, I'd like to have the opportunity to sit down after you meet with your nephew. Can you just make a commitment to me that you'll at least hear what we have to say, or look at our strategy before you make a commitment to anyone? And they'll say yes, and typically you'll get that listing. We've taken listings from people who have had the same realtor for 30 years and absolutely insisted they wouldn't list with anyone else. We spent a half an hour with them, and they insisted they wouldn't list with anyone else but us. So that's a common one that comes up. And if they've already listed with another realtor, there's not much you can do. Let them know that in the future, you guys specialize in probate. Maybe it won't work out with that agent.
Excellent. Guys, a lot of people on the call. Anybody else? Anybody? We'll take all the time you want. We're at about 30 minutes now, but anybody else getting stuck? Anything specific we can help you with? Anyone? Chad, what would let's take at least a few more minutes in your role play mastery, in your training calls with the agents. What do you think? And it's funny, guys, because to some extent that's good that you're not having problems. This is really low hanging fruit. Most of these people you're speaking to are highly motivated, and you don't get the objections you're going to get when you're working FSBOs or expireds or other lead sources. So that's a good thing. But Chad, what do you find is the most common objection people do get? What do you think would be the one that people run into the most?
It's usually I already know a realtor, or they will hang up because they don't quite trust you yet because this is so different. They'll try to defer the decision and say, well, you know, I need to talk to my siblings, or I need to talk to my wife, or whoever. They try to bring a third party in to keep from making a decision, because oftentimes, just like I spoke about with the personal property, people are being pushed out of their comfort zone. It's however, and I don't want that to sound unethical at all, but it's kind of our duty to help get them out of that quicksand when you know, because I mean, you'll know when someone's better off working with you than not. You can tell. And, you know, it's rarely is it better for a house to sit there vacant than it is for you to bring in a team of professionals and get it sold for the highest price possible. I don't know of any scenarios where it's better off to just let it sit there. And I see it all the time. So a lot of times people will say, well, Chad, you know, it sounds great. I mean, it sounds like you guys are doing a really cool thing, but I'm just going to have to talk to my sisters and brothers. And I'll get all that. If that scenario comes up, I will get a tentative appointment, and that tentative appointment never gets canceled. But it's just giving them that, knowing that they're allowed to cancel the appointment. They'll go ahead and set the appointment, and then they'll get off the phone and start rehashing that conversation, and they'll start moving forward. Because if they weren't interested at all in selling and getting through this, you know, breaking through that, they wouldn't have called in the first place, or they wouldn't have engaged in that conversation. So I don't know if you want to role play that, Jim, we can go through it, but a lot of people will say, you know, I need to talk to X or Y, someone else.
Yeah, and one thing before we do that, Chad, I was just going to say that in most of you are probably aware there's a big difference between an objection and a condition. You know, an objection is kind of an excuse that's probably a defense mechanism. Like you go to the mall and you're shopping, and the salesperson walks up and says, "Can I help you?" What's the first thing people say? "No, I'm just looking." Well, I mean, you weren't just looking at the decoration in the store. You came in to buy something. That's an objection, and objections can be handled with providing value. There are some conditions. I mean, you know, we had a client on one of our agents. The estate, the property, the person had passed away almost a year ago, and he had the entire house was full of trains, like these old Lionel trains, and the trains were probably almost worth as much as the house. They didn't know what to do with all that stuff. That was a condition. So our agent got an estate liquidation company out there, sold the trains, and the people were willing to list. That's a condition. If somebody says, "Hey, my cousin's living there and he's a SOB and we're going to have him evicted," probably a condition. Doesn't mean you can help. You can recommend a good attorney to get him evicted. Doesn't mean you can't go out and list it. But most things you run into, and like the one we're talking about right now, it's an objection. So, Chad, how do you want me to state that to you? That basically, it's kind of like it's really what we just role played. That I have a nephew, right? Or I know somebody.
Typically where it will come up is we've had a conversation for a few minutes. I know that they have a home that needs to be sold. I know who the decision makers are, and
Yep.
in this scenario there's more than one decision maker. And when I ask for the appointment is when this objection will come up. So, you know, Jim, listen, I've got a spot at 3:00. You know, will that work for you guys, and can you make sure everybody gets there? And that's where usually this will come out if they're just not sure, or you're pulling them out of their comfort zone. That's when this will come up.
Yeah, well, Chad, I appreciate it. I mean, we're really not sure what we're going to do yet, but I've got your number. I'll give you a call when we're ready.
Okay. Well, listen, Jim, I understand. I mean, this is not the easiest situation. What we find, we work with tons of people who are in your situation, and we find that sometimes it's not really. It's people just aren't ready to do it, and if you're not, that's fine. But more often than not, people are just a little bit overwhelmed, and that's kind of why we do what we do. So we've got a team that can help from cleaning out the property to, getting it in its best condition to get the most money. And it doesn't cost you anything. I mean, we don't charge any upfront fees. I know we do things a lot differently than what you might expect from a realtor. We bring a lot more options to the table, but nothing to lose, from meeting with us. So I've got a spot on Friday at 3. Do you think maybe you could get your brothers and sisters to meet over there just for a short meeting?
You did such a good job handling my objection. I'll be there. But honestly, you really did, because you gave me permission to say no, even after we got together. And that's probably the thing I was most afraid of, is that you were going to pressure me into doing something. So, all right, we'll get together. If if you like what I have to say, fine. If you're not ready, that's okay too. It takes the pressure off. So good job. But that was obviously just an objection. I wasn't really sure why I didn't want you out there, except I was kind of afraid of being pushed into something that I wasn't ready for. And as soon as you...
Well, and a lot of sales trainers would take a more hard-nosed approach to that and say, well, Jim, if you don't mind me asking, why don't you tell me why you don't want to meet me out there? And I don't like that. I think that creates an habit. It starts to erode your rapport with that person.
Mm-hmm.
So I always take a softer approach, especially with probate sellers. Now, if it's a FSBO and expired and you've got 48 hours to get the listing, or someone else is going to,
yep,
I think that's a different script. But you're probably the only person they're speaking with. And with these, just kind of nudge them along and always give them permission to not do what you're proposing, and
yep,
they'll always follow. I mean, because they really do need your help, or they wouldn't have reached out.
Excellent. Guys, we're at 35 minutes. Anybody, good call today. Thank you all for showing up. Any, we got time. We got another 5 or 10 minutes, or we can all get back to work. Tim, you want to add something?
I got one I think you guys ought to talk about, and that's this. You're talking about and focusing strictly on the listing side of this, and that's great. But one of the things I think is also important and is a missing opportunity, and Chad talked about it briefly, but I think it bears some more discussion, is, are they looking to list? Do they want to sell? Are they looking to list and get as much as they can, or are you failing to ask the right question, which might just be the best motive they have, which is, I need to sell this house immediately. And rather than, you're talking about listing it or whatever, if you can do something that ferrets out that last piece of it, which is, no, I'm not going to do anything with it, I'm not going to list it because I got to sell this quickly, so I'm going to, they may be planning to put it up on Craigslist. And the thing that you can highlight there and maybe role play out a little bit is the fact that as a realtor, you certainly know cash buyers that are interested in making quick offers, and there's got to be ways to kind of get to that. So you might want to talk about that a little bit.
Why don't you role play that with Chad, Tim? Give him that objection.
All right. Go ahead, Chad.
Well, I think so what I do in my presentation is I always, in the opening of the conversation, and if you guys have listened to past calls, you've heard me talk about a probate unique selling proposition. So I always try to get that out in the very beginning, because it starts to reveal certain things about the situation. So in that, you want to roll, why you contacted them, what value you can provide to them, and then let them know that the options are up to them and dependent upon their goals. So that usually happens in the first 1 to 2 minutes of the conversation. Like, I get it out as quickly as possible. And I end that statement with the question, by the way, you haven't said, Tim, is there a property that you guys would like to sell? And usually by that point, they know why I contacted them, what options I can provide, and then I'm basing everything on their goals. When they answer that question, they usually vent, and all that information just kind of flows out, and you learn everything about the situation, the heirs, the history of the property. And that's where we just, depending on what that statement is after that, what that first sentence is, I decide whether I'm taking it down the cash buyer route or whether it's more of a conventional listing opportunity. So that's usually in the very beginning of the conversation for me. And Tim, if you want, we can start at the very beginning and just walk through it.
So just one more thing before you do it, and that's this, that this also makes it necessary that you learn as a realtor, and if you're been doing this a while, I'm sure you already have it, but if not, you need those cash buyers, you need those investors who are out there looking to do that. who are more than willing to make cash offers of properties, and that's something that you need to bring to the game when you're doing this. But yeah, go ahead, Chad.
Okay. So you want to call me?
Ring, ring, baby.
Oh, it's Chad.
Hey, so I got your letter, and I appreciate it. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do with it, but I think I probably got this pretty well handled. Thanks a lot for the letter, though. I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, before you go, I didn't even catch your name. What was your name?
Juan.
I'm sorry?
Juan.
Juan? Well, Juan, are you the executor of the estate? Did you get the letter as the executor, or are you co-executor, or one of your siblings taking care of it? Or?
It's my mom's house.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you why we sent it. I mean, I'm thanks for calling. I mean, I'm glad you got the letter. What we find is a lot of people don't really know where to start, and so we've actually built a real estate team specifically to help people in your situation, because sometimes they need help getting the homes cleaned out. So we provide a list of services. I mean, from bringing you a quick cash offer to sell the home in a week, to getting it, in its best condition for the market, getting the right price on it. Really, it all depends on what your goals are, Juan. And once we understand that, we can kind of make some suggestions on how we can help you get it sold in the quickest time for the most amount of money. You didn't say, I mean, do you have a plan for selling the home, or like what are your plans for
well,
the house?
My mom passed, and she was taking care of my dad, and we're gonna, we've already kind of unfortunately had to move him into an assisted living facility, and he seems to be enjoying it, but those places are expensive. So we got to get this house sold so that we can kind of, I don't know, I guess you might call it endow his ongoing care, because, my brother and I don't have lots of money, and the house probably, most of the proceeds of that house is going to go to take care of Dad, as long as he's alive. So we probably need to get rid of it, as quickly as we can. And I know that, that my concern is that listing it takes a long time, and, it can take 6 months or a year sometimes to sell a piece of property, and, we can't fund it that long. I don't want to be in that situation.
Yeah, no, I understand you, and you're totally right. I mean, it's the average days on market here are 94 days on market, and some people just can't wait that long. One thing that we kind of bring to the table that you probably wouldn't expect a realtor to is we actually work with over 100 cash buyers. We do a lot of business with landlords and flip homes, and we buy ourselves. So we can bring you kind of a two-pronged presentation. I mean, I can show you what we can sell it for cash this week, or I can show you what we can get on the conventional market if you're willing to wait a couple of months. So if we could show you those two things and kind of, connect you with the right folks, would you want to meet up and talk about what we could do to help you?
Sure. Yep.
Okay. Well, I've got a spot on Friday at 3 o'clock. Does that work for you?
How about 2:15?
I've got a 2:15. It should be wrapped up by about 2:17. How does 2:17 work for you?
Yeah. Well, I'll go to the bathroom. Make it 2:19. That'll be great.
All right. Well, hey, listen, Juan, real quick before I let you go, and then I'll break script. That's where I get all the details of the house. So I don't try to talk about the address or the condition or anything until I know Juan has a house to sell, Juan sees the value that I can provide, and he's willing to meet with me. Once I get past the appointment, then I'll in a conversational way, I'll ask all those questions and get all the details about the property. So when I go to the appointment, I'll have prepared for him a seller net sheet, and there'll be 3 columns. One is the cash price, one is a recommended conventional price, and one is kind of a pie-in-the-sky high price that we might be able to get. And the reason I do that, even if I know he absolutely has to sell this house, I'm still going to show him what I would do in the conventional market and how much time it would take. But I'm also going to show him the cash offer price and how much time that would take. So if I get any competition from other investors, I'm going to stand out because I brought him options, and I showed him a way that he could sell for more money. It would take more time, but I showed him. I was very upfront and transparent with him. So if another investor comes in and says, hey, we'll cut that realtor out, I'm just going to make you the cash offer, he's going to have, somewhat of an obligation to you, or he's going to feel like it because you spent the time to show him the truth of what he could get for the house if he was patient. And that served me really well in the past. I mean, I have listed homes for that, they've gotten cash offers from investors, and they decided to go listed instead because they knew that I could bring them the same cash offer, and it was basically in my desk drawer. But I could also test the market and see what we could get on the conventional market, even on homes that were in really bad condition. So.
Well, great job. It just occurred to me, Chad and Tim, my first mentor in the real estate business used to say that people love to buy, but they hate to be sold. They don't like to be told what to do, but they love to have options. And every conversation we've had today has been around the fact that you give people options. You give them the option, no pressure. We get together, you can list, or you may choose not to. You've got the option of a cash buyer, or you've got the regular conventional route. The more options you give people, the more they're going to feel comfortable with you. And it goes back to something Tim said, that is the one thing, having this team that you put together, that's your unique selling proposition. You have options that other realtors are not throwing out to them. So good call today, guys. I think anything else anybody want to add? I think we're at about 45 minutes. We'll let you all get back to work, but we really appreciate you taking the time today. Tim, Chad, anything you want to say in closing?
Nope, great call. Thanks a lot.
All right. We will talk to you same time tomorrow on the mastermind call. Hey, Bob, you still there, Bob?
Yes.
Would you do me a big favor? Would you come to our mastermind call tomorrow and share your success story? We have such a hard time getting people to talk sometimes on those calls. Are you free at 1 o'clock tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow at 1? Sure.
Yep. All right. We'll put you on the payroll. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Great call, guys. Make it a great week. We'll talk to you all tomorrow. Take care.
Bye.